Hello and welcome to that 90s Wrestling Podcast. Today we are deciding what is the greatest face turn in wrestling history. And joining me for this debate from the Universal Wrestling Podcast, my good friend Nick. How you doing, Nick?
Good, man. How you guys doing?
Awesome, thanks. Glad you come back for the show. I think this is the third time you've been on the tournament bracket, so it's a bit of a staple for you.
Yes, sir. Thanks again, brother.
Yep. And joining me once again from the mighty Jofo in the ring, we have Kyle, and we've also got a special guest, my good friend, Mr. Jeremy Prophet. How you doing, lads?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm doing great as well, even though I almost fell off a chair here just before we hit the record button. But thankfully, I did not embarrass myself in front of the world. That's right, Jeremy Prophet, Kyle Jofo. You also missed out on the Harbinger of Truth. The silver tongue sex symbol, the anointed one. Can't forget Black Dynamite. Everyone loves Black Dynamite unless you're a card-carrying member of the KKK. But other than that, everybody loves the name. So as you can see, this is what I'm all about if you're not used to who I am. But I'm looking forward to this face turn stuff because even though I am more of a heel, I did start my career as a babyface. So I think that I can bring some insight to this and we can determine what is the best face turn.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we had Kyle last time and discussing the face turns. I mean, we won't spoil it for anyone who wants to watch it. But yeah, if you want to go back and watch that one, I recommend it because pretty interesting chat. But we are talking about face turns, and yeah, I've always said there's nothing better than a great heel turn, but a face turn can change someone's career. I mean, a lot of times it seems not to pay off, but for these people on the list, it seems to have done so. So, rules for this one. So, there's one face turn per wrestler, but I have made an exception for one wrestler because he had two great face turns. And yeah, basically, I'll throw it to you and I'll have decide and vote if it comes to a tie. And we'll go from there. So to kick things off, we've got Stone Cold Steve Austin turning babyface at WrestleMania 13. So before we find out who he's against, that face turn at WrestleMania 13, what was your thoughts on it? We'll start with you, Nick.
Yeah, man, that was that's something you don't really think is going to happen, and then it happens, and it's like, holy shit, that is awesome. So yeah, that's what I think about that.
Cool. And Kyle and Jeremy?
Well, before we get started, I kind of just wanted a bit of a clarification now. Do Kyle and I count as one vote, or are we individual votes?
Individual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So Kyle, you can get the ball rolling on Austin there.
Thank you, sir. Shave my head for it, specifically for Austin. Yeah, no, it was iconic. I mean, they had this amazing match. The story, the build-up for it was amazing. And not only that, but we got something I never thought I'd see was a heel Bret Hart. So
Yeah.
Having been in the ring, for 15 years, got to put myself over. Seeing a double turn done like that and being successful is something that is so hard to do in this day and age. So, definitely hats off to WWE for doing it, but also for having the guts to actually pull that off, not worrying that the crowd might be kind of confused, might not go the way they want. They actually had the guts to try something different, and I think it was a big success. So, yeah, I'm a fan of the Austin WrestleMania 13 face turn.
Yeah, and I mean, what it led to afterwards, well, there you go, the greatest era in wrestling, like the amount of merchandise Stone Cold shifted, it's never been duplicated. I think John Cena is the top merchandise seller, but I think that's more to longevity more than I think. But during Austin's peak 3 or 4 years, he was at his peak. The volume of merchandise he shifted was second to none. So, and it just led to so many great storylines. And that is up against Stone Cold Steve Austin again. So he is the one exception to the rule. This was during 2001. So background check on this one. So the alliance was formed, WCW and ECW. And they're basically kicking everyone's ass in the WWE ring. During this time, Stone Cold was a heel. He joined Vince McMahon at WrestleMania X7. And Vince McMahon famously said, "I need the old Stone Cold back." And Stone Cold was humming and hawing over it. And then eventually came back and on his way to the ring through the backstage, he started kicking everyone's asses. And all of a sudden, the glass shattered, big, massive pop from the crowd. He stormed the ring, kicked everyone's ass. And Stone Cold was a babyface again, only for a few weeks because he turned that Invasion. But the initial pop itself and the face turn was unreal. So we'll start with you, Jeremy. What did you think to this one?
Well, there's no denying that the pop that it got was out of this world. And it was quite a marquee moment for the WWE, and what looked like would be a marquee moment in shifting the balance away from the alliance. For me, I don't want to show my hand a little too much here before we get into the actual voting, but I feel that the fact that it didn't last very long kind of made it like a flash in the pan. There was, a lot more sizzle than there was steak to the turn. But if we're going just based on how the people took to it, then, it was successful, but only in the very short term.
Cool. Kyle?
I mean, it's one of the most watched YouTube videos of all time in wrestling, right?
Yeah.
And I see it at least once a month on Facebook. I know every time me and my buddies get together and we just watch random wrestling clips, it's always Hulk Hogan WrestleMania 4 promo and then Austin coming out and saving WWE. It's fucking amazing. It's just like Jeremy said, it's too bad it was only a quick face turn.
Yeah, it was that was the thing what kind of lets it down. It was just like a short for like at least 2 or 3 weeks and that was it. But what did you think to it, Nick?
Yeah, man. I mean, if you think about it, the only thing that I can remember from this, feud and this storyline is when Stone Cold entered the ring and stunned, all those guys. So is it really? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be able to compete with Austin at WrestleMania 13. But it was a good clip. It's a good clip to watch, and I don't know. I don't think it's going to do well, but it is what it is.
And JR's commentary during the whole thing, like when Austin was coming down, he's like, "Oh, he's walking, he's talking." Yeah, fucking amazing.
Yeah, it was a great moment, but I think the aftermath it only lasted like a couple of weeks later down. But I mean, we'll go to the phone. So Jeremy, I presume I know where you're going. Are you going WrestleMania 13, Austin?
Oh yeah, I'm going all in on WrestleMania 13. The other turn, like I said, it was a flash in the pan. And I actually think it in the long run, it kind of hurt the character progression of Steve Austin, too, because he was going in a different direction, a humorous, different direction that maybe wasn't playing to his strengths. But I think that all in all, doing that give and then take back kind of just halted the progression of him as a character. So, yeah, I'm going with WrestleMania 13.
Cool. And Kyle?
Yeah, I got to go with WrestleMania 13. I mean, just that alone, what it led to, right? The Austin era began that long, like the very next year, WrestleMania. So, whereas this one, he was there for a couple of weeks, couple stunners, he beat up everybody in the ring, and then now he's a bad guy again. Yay!
Cool. Nick?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Really, not much anything else I could say about that.
Cool. Clean sweep. Right. So that's moving to the next round. So next, we see Daniel Bryan turning on Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family. So for a few months, Bryan was feuding with the Wyatt family. He also had a tag team match against Harper and Rowan with CM Punk as a team, which was a pretty good match. But eventually, Wyatt converted him, and we saw Daniel Bryan in the jumpsuit. And it was mixed kind of booking, but because the fans wanted Bryan just to be this #1 babyface for such a long time, but eventually, I think it was a cage match, and Bryan decided to turn on Bray, and very big pop from the crowd, you could say. So, Nick, what did you think to this?
Yeah, I thought it was an odd faction, for how long it was, how long it lasted. But I think that it helped Daniel Bryan get to where he needed to be. So I'm all for that. Again, the faction, it was a little odd, but at the end of the day, Daniel Bryan, look where he is now. It helped his career, and I thought it was cool.
Cool. Jeremy?
Well, I kind of feel like I'm maybe in the minority on this one because I obviously keep in tune with what people are saying out there. I feel it's one of the main reasons that's helped me to be successful in wrestling is knowing what the people want. And I remember when that came about, the whole thing to me just kind of seemed like filler. It seemed like they were treading water. I didn't for a second believe that Daniel Bryan was fully entrenched into the Wyatt family and that was the direction they were going with him. So when he made the turn, it just seemed very predictable to me. I will say, though, the crowd reaction when he did and them chanting in unison, yes, it was a very special moment in that cage match. But to me, he never fully became a heel. He was like a face immersed inside of a heel stable. So
Yeah.
I don't see it the same way that a lot of people do in the career trajectory of Daniel Bryan. I think that he was just as over before and just as over after. I don't think it helped catapult him to any higher stratosphere of overness.
Well said. And Kyle?
Yeah, no, exactly. You could smell it coming a mile away. It was obvious. They already fucked up Daniel Bryan. I believe he just came back from the injury too, and then he jumped into the Wyatt family thing. It was like, yeah, you're gonna bring him back just to have him turn heel? No, it was filler. It was crap in my opinion. I hated
it. Right. Cool. So, and that's up against Lex Luger slamming Yokozuna. So Lex Luger came in as the heel, the narcissist, and I actually enjoyed that gimmick, but I've got a soft spot for like that era of wrestling, and he was a bit of a hated heel, but it wasn't getting over. And Hogan just left, and
so did Nick.
Nick's just left as well. Let's see where he's gone. Right, so everyone, Nick's computer crashed, so it's the three of us now. So cool. So yeah, so Bryan turned on Bray. That is up against Lex Luger slamming Yoko. So yeah, as I was mentioning earlier, the backstory, he was the narcissist, came as a heel, wasn't getting really over, but I did enjoy the gimmick. And during this time, Hogan left to make movies, then eventually go to WCW. Yokozuna was the big heel champion at the time, and they had the body slam challenge. I forgot the name of the ship itself. But they brought everyone out. The Intrepid, well done. And they brought out NFL stars, basketball stars, wrestlers, everyone. Scott Steiner had a good go at it, but he couldn't do it. And then the helicopter landed. The funniest thing was that the fans was chanting Hogan because they thought it was Hogan. Then Lex Luger came out, decorated in stars and stripes, and proclaimed the fact this was America, slammed Yoko, and big babyface turn. So we'll start with you, Kyle. What did you think of this turn?
I mean, he got on the Lex Express and took off and toured the country. He kissed all the babies, shook all the hands. It was the whole thing was great. It was just, it's Lex Luger. He always looks like he's fucking miserable. Like he doesn't look like he's happy to be there. I don't get it, but yeah, no, it was good. I had some hope for it. Like when I was a kid and I saw it, I was just like, oh wow, somebody new. This guy's big and jacked too. He can slam Yoko. Maybe this guy will be the champion. He's got the metal plate in the forearm. He's got the weapon that can take down the monster heel, and nothing ever happened.
now I know that he's, pretty much a very polarizing figure throughout wrestling's history, but I've always kind of had a soft spot for Lex Luger. I don't know why, but I really enjoyed his heel runs. Like I loved him as the narcissist. He should have never stopped being the narcissist. I think he could have actually been WWF champion as the narcissist. He was just that good for that character. Even when he was the total package in WCW, when they had repackaged him the total package, and he said, don't call me Lex Luger. I'm the total package. You can call me Mr. Package if you want, or the total package. And he was with Elizabeth. I love that run. I really think that he was just such a natural heel, and possibly because maybe that came from the kind of person that he was at those times in his life. I also have a bit of a soft spot for him because he did an interview on Hannibal TV, and he actually mentioned my family's restaurant, the Barbie Barn, from his time here in Montreal. Couldn't believe that, but that was incredible. All that to say, I kind of feel like the Lex Express and the slamming Yokozuna, that turn, it could have been anybody. It could have been and probably should have been Scott Steiner. I think that they would have got a lot more mileage out of him, being that Steiner was a guy who was almost a total package, when it came to the no pun intended, I should say, but the look, the in-ring work, the mic skills. Scott Steiner was the real total package and could have benefited from that. So that's just, my 2 cents on the Lex Luger narcissist heel turn, face turn.
Yeah, I've got a soft spot for Lex, and he gets a lot of hate. I mean, a lot of people blames him for Miss Elizabeth passing away. I don't know how to look at it, an accident's an accident. Yeah, he brought stuff into the house, but it's hard to say like who's to blame. I don't like to blame anyone, and he seemed to be really upset about it, and he's had a lot of bad stuff happen to him. Like the guy couldn't walk for a long time, and seems a lot of people from all accounts I've heard now say he's a completely different person from when he was in his heyday. Now he's just such a nice person, and I would love to have him on the show one day. It'd be an unbelievable chat.
I think you'll get him. I think you'll get
try.
him. Yeah.
We'll try. I had his good friend Nikita Koloff on, and he was a great chat. So see if he put a good word for me. So, right. So who's the winner here? Bryan turning on Bray or Lex Luger slamming Yoko?
I mean, just for me, just by nostalgia alone, I'm giving it to Lex.
Jeremy?
It's a pretty hard choice for me, but I saw right through that Daniel Bryan turn. So I'd say the Lex Luger, the narcissist, becoming the All-American hero was the better face turn.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement. So got a clean sweep. I love that Lex face turn, and yeah, it should have led to a title reign. Unfortunately, it didn't. But yeah, it was good for what it was.
Him and Davey as a tag team were bad too.
You said they were bad?
Yeah.
No, weren't bad.
Oh, yeah,
team.
yeah.
Yeah, that should have got a stronger push. That should have got a stronger push. That did, but it ended before it began.
Allied Powers.
That's it.
Allied
the Allied Powers.
Yeah. So cool. So next one, we've got the Undertaker turning face when he saved Miss Elizabeth. So going up here, we had the SummerSlam when it was the match made in heaven where Macho and Elizabeth got married, and during the reception, Jake Roberts and Undertaker crashed the party and laid the beat into Macho Man, and that led towards Macho Man and Jake Roberts' match at this Tuesday in Texas, which was unbelievable blood feud and great storyline, like with the snake latching itself onto Macho Man, and it led to one match. I don't know if it was a Saturday night's main event or something like that, and I think Macho just won. And Jake Roberts was through the curtain and he had a steel chair and he was like, I'm going to hit the next person that comes through this. And it was going to be Miss Elizabeth. And as he went to swing the chair, Undertaker grabbed the chair from him and Macho Man, started hitting Jake. And to a segment a few days later, the funeral, I think it was the funeral parlor or the snake pit, Jake Roberts said to Taker, whose side are you on? And Taker went, not yours. And then Jake trapped Taker's hand and started beating him, but that led towards Taker's face turn, and he remained a face for a good 5 or 6 years after this. So this was like the start of that long, lengthy face turn. So does any of you have any memories of this? We'll start with you, Carl.
Yeah, when he got his hand locked in the casket and he dragged it towards Jake the Snake, he was like he was pulling it off the stage. I was blown away because like back then, Undertaker was the scariest guy in the world after Papa Shango for me, anyway. And I told him that to his face. But I thought that was amazing when he did that. And then even at WrestleMania when he took the DDT on the ground outside of the ring and then sat up, got back in the it was great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of precedes my time as a fan by just a little bit, but I'm more amazed by the fact that he was a babyface. Like I guess it would have been up until the Ministry started from that same turn.
I think like 98 where he started teaming up with Kane to take on Austin. So at least 6 years he was a babyface. So good run.
That's quite a run. So I mean that definitely says a lot about a well done face turn that he was able to stay over for that amount of time without them feeling the need to turn him. And when people think of the Undertaker, it's the Undertaker as a babyface. Who would have thought this lumbering, Frankenstein-esque lurch type character would have been great and well suited for a babyface. So pretty good turn.
Go. And it's up against one of the recent face turns. So the Shield. So the Shield came in as, these three guys, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, came in as heels to help CM Punk out to retain his title at Survivor Series. Then quickly joined the Authority, helping Orton out to keep his title. And it led to months and feuds and that. And then it came to a point just after Mania that Kane brought Jerry Lawler to the ring, and the Shield came in, and the Shield basically said we're on the side of what's right or side of justice, to paraphrase it. And they turned on Kane, and the Authority led to their matches against Evolution, and they was getting some really, really big babyface pops. But it came to an end not long after because Triple H revealed, Plan B, and Seth Rollins with one of the greatest heel turns, which we discussed last time, turned on the Shield. But for the initial babyface turn and the run, it was actually a decent run. So we'll start with you, Jeremy. Did you have many memories of this?
Oh, yeah. I watched when it happened. I actually found it kind of similar to when the Brood turned on the Ministry, that you had this 3-man unit inside of a bigger group, and then they finally broke away. And, they got a pretty good boost out of doing it. I think they could have ran with the Shield a little bit longer than they did, because I think they really stumbled upon something special. I remember going to a SmackDown taping in Ottawa, and the Shield were the most talked about thing in the audience. They appeared during main event. They also appeared during actual SmackDown, came through the crowd each time. Great reactions. I think WWE had a big moneymaker on their hands, so they made the right decision by turning them face. How it was done, though, I think they could have done it a little bit better, but the end result speaks for the fact that it actually was a great turn.
Go.
Yeah, no, it was great. They were doing great. It was, yeah, like he said, I could have seen them as a group for a little bit longer. Same thing as bad guys too, because them just saying, "Oh yeah, no, like I'm on the side of justice." Like, you were gonna beat up Jake the Snake a couple of months prior until he put the snake on Dean. Like, what's the problem with jumping Jerry Lawler? That I didn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, all of a sudden your morals are fucking changed. But yeah.
Cool. So we'll go to the vote. So Taker or Shield, Jeremy?
I'm gonna go with Taker on that one.
Yeah. Kyle?
Yeah, I gotta go with the Undertaker on that one too.
Yeah, I agree. Taker's 10, and like I said, like one of the things we're looking at as well is like what led to this face turn afterwards, and like how much it impacted their career. And Taker, like we've always said, like he always seems to be a babyface, and this was the start of it. So gotta go with Taker. So we've got another old school one. So Macho Man WrestleMania 7 reuniting with Miss Elizabeth. So this one tugs on the heartstrings for a lot of fans. During the build up to WrestleMania 5, Macho Man was champion, and he was in the Mega Powers with Hulk Hogan. They had this year-long storyline, which is one of the greatest storylines ever. And Hogan said he was saving Miss Elizabeth, but you can never trust Hogan. And Vince Macho Man, lust in his eyes, turned on Hulk Hogan, became a heel, led to their match at Mania 5, and that was him and Elizabeth split up, and because he took Sherry on. Had 2 great years with Sherry as his manager, and it led to his eventually things happened, led to his retirement match against Ultimate Warrior. Ultimate Warrior won, and during the match, Miss Elizabeth was spotted in the crowd, and after when Macho Man lost, Sherry turned on Macho Man, started kicking them. Miss Elizabeth came into the ring to make the save, and and they reunited, fans crying in the audience, and one of the most heartwarming moments in the history of wrestling. So Kyle, I'm guessing you've got good memories of this.
I still remember that guy with the big fucking hat that they always show. And he's crying. And he's, yeah. No, it was great. That Macho King run was fantastic. When he destroyed Duggan and then was just running roughshod over everybody. He cost the Warrior the title.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you need Macho Man with Elizabeth. With Sherry, it was great. She was the queen, but I don't know. You need Macho Man. You need Miss Elizabeth together. It works better. And it was great because who doesn't love the Macho Man? Like, exactly. He's retiring, but they sent the fans home happy because, hey, what's up next? He's back with Elizabeth.
And it led to a wedding as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think more people know of Macho Man for Macho Man and Elizabeth than anything else in his career. I feel like if you ask the average casual person who maybe watched wrestling and stopped watching wrestling, hey, what do you think of the Macho Man? Do you remember him as WWF champion? Do you remember him as Intercontinental champion? Do you remember him, as the Macho King? I feel most of them will say, I remember him with Elizabeth. I remember their wedding. That's really his legacy. I'm a little torn on this one, though, I will say, because I do feel, for as much as that's what a lot of people remember of the Macho Man is him and Elizabeth, that character, I think he was one of the greatest heel wrestlers of all time. And I was privileged to have the chance to spend a lot of time with Lanny Poffo and, hear him talk about Randy and talk about Randy's approach to being a heel. And he was someone who just got it. I think he may very well be a top 5 greatest heels of all time. But it's a credit to how good he was. Again, I always like to use the Bret Hart scale of, look, work rate, and promo skills. Randy Savage, much like Scott Steiner, he's in that top percentile, much like Jeremy Prophet. He's in that top percentile when it comes to that because he had it all. And it speaks to his versatility because he was such a good face and also such a good heel. So while I think it's a great turn and led to his most iconic moments, I do think that he was also a great heel and that maybe they could have got a little bit more out of him in that direction as well.
Cool. And that's up against Virgil turning on Ted DiBiase at Royal Rumble 91. So for quite a few years, when DiBiase debuted, he had these, I suppose you could say, manservant, Virgil, and made Virgil do demeaning tasks. And and they were sowing the seeds for this for about a year, like from the previous Royal Rumble 90, that Virgil was getting fed up. So this was a well put storyline. This was really a long standing storyline. And things came to a head at the Royal Rumble where DiBiase and Virgil squared off against the Rhodes family of Dusty and Dustin Rhodes. DiBiase and Virgil won, but then he started berating Virgil, and Virgil fuck it, I finally had enough. Turned on DiBiase. Fans went wild for this. I watched this recently, and they went wild and led to their match at Mania 7. It was like a count-out result, but it led to their match at SummerSlam 91. Virgil winning the $1 million title with Roddy Piper cheering him on. And yeah, I mean, it's the peak of Virgil, but this was a really, really good storyline put together and such a long face turn how it happened. So, Jeremy, what do you think to it?
Well, first I want to say, have you ever thought about having Virgil on that 90s podcast? I'm sure he'd be a great guest for you.
I'll try. I mean, I'll try for everyone. If I could find these details one day, we'll see.
Because when I did my tryouts, first TV tryout I did for the WWE was in 2010. It was a Raw in Toronto. It happened to be an episode where they brought Virgil back to accompany Ted DiBiase Jr. That's right. I think I told the story recently that we were staying at the same hotel, and I was there with some friends of mine. He happened to be walking in, and I was going up to my room, and they're like, "Oh, hey, Virgil, can I get an autograph?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And he starts talking to them. And I go up to the room. I put my bag away. I take my shower. I come back down, like, where are they? And he's still there talking to them. And he just seemed like a really friendly guy. All that to say, that's all Virgil had. I mean, he had that, and he had the NWO, if you want to count that. That's all this man had. I don't want to get just, into stories and whatnot, but, I once met Virgil at a gas station.
Oh, wow.
Legitimate. I'm on my way to a wrestling show in Ontario. We're going down to Niagara Falls from Quebec here. And I'm with 3 other guys. We're 4 of us in a car. They stopped to get gas, get some food. I said, I happen to have a lottery ticket that, I won some money on, but I can only cash it in the province where you got it. So in Ontario, I go to cash it. Virgil walks by me, goes into the men's room, and I'm like, that looked like Virgil. I remember he came back out, and then I said to him, "Excuse me, you look kind of familiar. Maybe I've seen you somewhere." He says, "Oh, well, maybe it's from professional wrestling. I've been involved in it for 30 years." I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're Virgil. You were in the NWO." And he even said, he's like, "Yeah, that was me. People know me for the NWO and winning the $1 million title. Hey, $1 million man's in the car outside. You want to come meet him?" Went out to meet him. DiBiase wouldn't even so much as roll his window down to say anything to me, but Virgil was a gentleman. All that to say, and I know I took a lot of time there, that was all he had. The $1 million title and the NWO, by his own admission.
Yeah. Kyle?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, he said everything that you can say about this. What else did he do after that heel turn? I mean, I tried to shake his hand at the forum, and he snubbed me once. But, but go online and Google Virgil bag. It's a bunch of stories. It's an article that a bunch of people wrote about all the times they ran into Virgil, and how there's always something about him.
I should add to that.
You definitely should.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up.
I'll send you the thing. It's hilarious.
Cool. So I presume we're all going macho then. Is that right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think his wrestling card would get taken away if we went with fucking Virgil.
Cool. So next one, pretty big one from the Ruthless Aggression era. Batista with a thumbs down. Batista's part of Evolution. They run shot over Raw for a couple of years. The most dominating group in Raw's history, you could say. Triple H with the Reign of Terror was a champion for so long, and Orton got kicked out, and Batista, Flair, and Triple H were still running wild. And then it came to the point where Batista won the Royal Rumble. So Triple H was trying to say that, challenge for SmackDown, we can have Evolution champions on Raw and SmackDown. And they done a scene where a car tried to run over Batista and try to make look it was JBL, which it wasn't. And Batista caught Triple H talking shit in the locker room. So then it came to the contract signing. And Batista's got the contract ready to sign, and Flair and Triple H got the thumbs up. Then Batista's like this, pulls it down, power bombs Triple H through the table, turns babyface, defeats him at WrestleMania, become the world champion, and yeah, this is fucking awesome. So, Kyle?
It was great storytelling, and it was full circle too from when Triple H gave Orton the thumbs down. So
right.
it was great, and I remember just Batista just becoming this monster slowly over time, and then I think right before that he fought La Resistance in a 2-on-1 match, and he fucking shoved the flag up their ass to pin them. It was hilarious, but yeah, no, I remember that storyline. It was great, and it was thank God for Triple H too, because that was supposed to get done like I think a few months before Mania too, but he was the one who told Vince to wait until Mania for the payoff.
Right.
So
I feel that is the template for how to do a face turn. And I know you're known as the spoiler, but I'm going to be the spoiler here today because in my humble opinion, I feel that is the greatest face turn of all time. Even though it's from the Ruthless Aggression era, it's something more recent. It was picture perfect from start to finish. There was not one hiccup in it. And I do believe that story is the reason that Dave Batista became the most over person in wrestling for the time that he was there, that the crowd never really faltered. I mean, there was the Hammerstein Ballroom. There was the match he had with Big Show. But aside from that, there was no blip on the radar. The people always supported him. It wasn't a 50-50 John Cena reaction. The people fell in love with Batista from that turn, and he and Triple H were just perfect rivals for each other. They had the acting chops and the storytelling in the ring to be able to cement what I feel will be the best face turn here. At least that's my vote. I'm riding it right to the finals.
Yeah, it's one of the face turns that popped in my head when I was making up this list. It was like, oh, that could be a front runner. So we'll see. So I thought I'll decide to show some TNA a bit of love. So we're going AJ Styles, helping out the main event Mafia against Aces and Eights. So leading up to this, AJ Styles kind of became like a lone wolf, started having a bit of a darker attitude, you could say, a bit of a biker attitude, and people was presuming he was going to be joining the Aces and Eights. So he wasn't full-fledged heel, but he wasn't babyface. He was that trainer, kind of like Sting during the NWO days. You didn't know what side he was on. So main event Mafia is in a match against Aces and Eights, and the one man short. And all of a sudden, like AJ's new theme at the time kicked in, and he's at the ramp, and then all of a sudden, Get Ready to Fly hit. Big reaction from the fans, and yeah, we finally got babyface AJ Styles. So I think we'll be going about Batista, but I just want to talk about this face turn from AJ. So I don't know if any of you has got any memories of it. Jeremy?
Oh yeah, I definitely do. I was watching every week at that point, and I love the Aces and Eights storyline. I'm actually the patch president of the Aces and Eights Quebec. That is, in fact, a shoot. I have a vest and everything.
Wow.
Had I known it was on the list, because I didn't get the spoilers for today, maybe I would have wore it. But yeah, no, AJ is one of my favorite performers. I'd say he's the best in the world, really. And even back when people like CM Punk were saying they were the best in the world, AJ was showing to the fans that were still watching TNA that he was the best in the world. And I think that this face turn, it's a shame it's up against Batista because I have such a soft spot for AJ, but I think that this helped push him in a direction to become one of the very best. It gave him that extra edge. It made him tap into, his viciousness in there. He was always a great athlete, but now he was able to do the little things really well and get you to believe in them. And I also love that he debuted one of the greatest submission finishers with the calf killer. They should still call it the calf killer because that's such a great name. I kind of affectionately refer to this period of AJ as like the Shadow from Final Fantasy VI version of AJ. If you've played the game, then you'll get that reference. If you haven't, look it up. But I love that character for AJ. And I think it's what helped get him to where he is now.
Awesome. Kyle?
Yeah, I always tuned in and out of TNA back then, but the Aces and Eights run I did follow a lot more. Yeah. So, especially when the main event Mafia was coming back, and they had, I think it was Tito and Rampage was involved, I believe. No?
That's right,
When they brought them in, so it was right around that time. But yeah, no, I remember them. They were really pulling him as Sting, and I remember all those matches that he used to have with like Christopher Daniels, and I'm like, oh fuck. So if he's a bad guy, and then when he came out, I watched the video. It was great, but like you said, but that fucking heel face turn,
Yeah.
The man had 3 pay-per-view fights and he beat Triple H convincingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I gotta give AJ a thumbs down on that one.
Yeah. Well said. So yeah, love you, AJ, but Batista, to what it led, so we have to go.
Wasn't
Batista.
a phenomenal face turn.
Go. So, decided to give the ladies a bit of love. So, WrestleMania X7, Trish Stratus 10 on Vince McMahon. So, this was during Vince McMahon's match against Shane McMahon. So, leading up to this, Trish was basically the mistress during this time. Linda was comatose. She played that well. She played that role so well, being comatose. And Vince McMahon wasn't shy to show what he was doing. And Trish Stratus was hot as anything at this time. I was 11-year-old, so she was my everything during this time. And but Stephanie didn't like Trish, and they had a match the previous month at No Way Out. And yeah, in the end, like Vince decided to choose his daughter over Trish, but he started this making her crawl like a dog and things like that. So then at Mania, Trish had enough, gave him a slap and that, and she turned babyface. So I thought I'll show a bit of love to the women. So does any of you have any memories of this?
I'm just shocked to learn that James and I are the same age based on that. But I remember it, and I don't really know what to say. I mean, I kind of felt like I didn't like Trish. I didn't like her anymore turning on Vince. I kind of see it as, Vince probably just saw Tori Wilson and said, okay, on to the next one. That's my 2 cents on that one.
I was a Lita guy back then, so.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, I don't know. It was okay. If anything, you looking back on it, you feel better for the girl because,
I love Trish. I don't know if it was on your heel turn episode. I haven't seen it, but I love Trish's heel turn on Chris Jericho.
Yes.
From years after. That was one hell of a turn.
She slapped the shit out of him.
Yeah. And I think that led to what I remember as being Trish's best run. And she showed how incredible of a heel she was with that.
Yeah.
And what a great storyline that was, that whole Jericho Trish Christian. Great storytelling, the likes of which we don't see these days.
For a Canadian dollar.
Yeah. Cool. So that's up against Diamond Dallas Page, Diamond cutting Scott Hall, and basically making himself one of the biggest the people's champion in the WCW. So he started out as a heel manager, managing the Fabulous Freebirds, and then after that, bit of a mid-card heel for the TV title, a long-standing feud with Johnny B. Bad, and never seemed to have ended. And then he started feuding with the Booty Man, and so he was he was getting big pops every week from the fans because of the Diamond Cutter. He wasn't officially a face; he was a trainer, basically at this point. And no one, and Kevin Nash explained this well in the shoot interview. Like no one, the outsiders during this time, no one ever seemed to have got a shot on them at this time. So they came to the ring, offered DDP the NWO shirt. He put it on, and they're all happy. And all of a sudden, he hits the Diamond Cut and Scott Hall. Fans go wild, and it led to one of the biggest baby faces during this time. So, any memories of this? We'll start with you, Cole.
I remember that bump Nash took when he went over the top rope and took out the table and almost flung the table into the crowd. That was great. Hell of a run he had. I think he was calling himself the People's Champ before The Rock, too, if I'm not mistaken. So the real People's Champ, in my opinion. And he had that great theme song. DDP was untouchable back then.
Oh yeah.
Like he sued Jay-Z and won. How many people can say they did that?
Yeah.
And like he said, he was the first person to get his hands on the NWO. So
yeah.
So I'm an extremely big fan of DDP. Bruno, our executive producer here, can attest to me as a hockey player going and diamond cutting people on the ice in practice. that became a thing, and throwing up the diamond when we were younger. And one of my first interviews that I did, I think it would literally be my second interview I conducted ages ago, was with DDP, talking about his DDP yoga when I was part of another show. And we're talking ages ago, like maybe 2010, around then. Hell of a guy. Came on, talked with us. We thought it was going to be, 20, 30 minutes. He talked with us for close to 3 hours.
Nice.
I love DDP. And I think that we were talking a little bit off air about how a lot of guys try to emulate Steve Austin. You know, we see a bit of it from like the John Moxleys, the Kevin Owens. I don't know why no one ever tried to emulate the template of DDP in his People's Champion run, because, you know, that was a great way to present a babyface on his own, getting it done against the NWO, against, you know, Kurt Hennig, against Randy Savage, all those guys. When they say WCW didn't make any stars other than Goldberg, it's not true, because they made DDP and he was extremely well booked. And that was a huge moment. I remember it like it was yesterday when he dropped Scott Hall with that diamond cutter, when he had every reason at that point to join the NWO and fit in like a glove. So that was, high point there for me. And, you know, again, spoiler, I'm going to put my vote towards that one, not Trish Stratus, if it wasn't already obvious.
Kyle, I would imagine you're the same.
Yeah, I got to stick with DDP. And plus, he had all those matches afterwards, too, where he just put the diamond cutter on somebody in a new way every other week. It was great.
Cool. So, I'm in agreement. So, DDP it is. So, cool. So, DDP it is. So, next one. In Toronto, Hulk Hogan, WrestleMania 18. So, he just came back to the WWE. He's been gone for many years in WCW. Vince McMahon was really paranoid with Ric Flair owning half of WWE at the time, so he decided to kill his own creation and bring in the NWO. So Hogan, Nash, and Hulk joined WWE for the first time in many years, and they was feuding, and the stage was set for Hogan v The Rock. So all the way up to this point, Hogan was the out and out heel, and the Rock was the big baby face. But then Bizarro World, as we call it, the Toronto crowd just went massive for Hogan. And this is one of my favorite matches of all time. And The Rock and Hogan decided caught on the fly, just chucked the script out the window. And Hogan became a babyface. And at the end, he lost against The Rock. But at the end, Hall and Nash came out to attack Hogan. And he decided to turn babyface. Him and Rock, they cleared the ring and start posing. And then it was rather the next night or the following SmackDown, he came out in the red and yellow, and Hulk Hogan was back. So memories of this. I'll start you, Jeremy.
Yeah, well, you kind of low-key dissed us there with the next night in SmackDown. It was actually Raw here in Montreal the next night. He came out in the red and yellow.
Okay.
Yeah, which it's a show that I feel was to me fell under my expectations, coming off of the heels of such a monumentous WrestleMania, but a lot of people choose to remember it a lot differently because they were there. But anyways, I digress. I think that what's interesting about this turn is that it was a turn orchestrated by the fans. They made the turn happen. It wasn't in the script, and the fans made it happen. So that's the main thing for me, what makes it stand out amongst a lot of these other turns. And I think it's the definition of an organic face turn.
Cool.
Plus, the next night on Raw, we gave him that 20-minute standing ovation when he came out.
Yeah, it's probably why the matches I wanted to see ended up not happening. So,
I actually watched that Raw a couple weeks ago. It was great, and the face turn was even better because the minute Hulk Hogan came back, we don't care that you're in the NWO. You're Hulk Hogan. You're in the WWE again.
Yeah.
We've seen Hollywood for the last going on almost 10 years. Oh, maybe not 10 years, but like 7 or 8 ish.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, yeah. We want the red and yellow back, and we got it. So, got to give the people what they want.
Awesome. And that's up against CM Punk in the Pipe Bomb promo. So it's weird because his face turn, but I think it is because he was an out-and-out heel beforehand, and this kind of turned him Trina lead, but the fans were so behind him that eventually, it made him a face. And he basically just cut a shoot, saying, John Cena is not the best in the world. You're kissing Vince McMahon's ass like Dwayne Johnson, and the rest to say was history. And he broke the fourth wall, calling out, shout out to Colt Cabana and that. And this eventually led towards Money in the Bank, where he became the champion, left the WWE for like 2 weeks, and then he came back and led to Summer of Punk, you could say. So, memories of this, Kyle?
Yeah, I remember watching it with my buddy and then going online right away, just seeing what would happen, and come to find out he got suspended. So we were wondering, like, oh my God, is this fucking real? Is it fake? Like, what the? it was great. No, it was great TV. This is actually a really tough one for me.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things about the Punk pipe bomb, and I think that was great. That showed that, if you can cut an effective promo, you can raise your stock, and maybe certain people should be taken off of the script and allowed to say what they want. I look at the pipe bomb as a template for, once one of these big companies gives Jeremy Prophet a contract, I can do that on a weekly basis and change this entire game and change this entire industry. And he was able to do that for a time being. And I don't like CM Punk. I also don't really like Hulk Hogan. But when it comes down to it, CM Punk took control of his destiny with that, and they ran with it. I hated the fact that the next week was taped, so there were already spoilers for it. If ever there was a way you end a show and you get people to watch the next week, and with a live show, it would have been that. Unfortunately, they taped it. But with that said, this is a tough one for me too, because on one hand, the pipe bomb is so memorable, but on the other hand, it's a very organic face turn. So I think maybe we might all be split on this one. I kind of got to go with Hogan.
Kyle?
Yeah, it's that thing was huge. Like, they were both huge, but I think I got to say Hogan just by like a cunt hair.
I love that cunt hair. Yeah, I'm the same. I think I'm leaning towards Hogan as well, because it's one of my favorite matches of all time. So yeah, we'll go Hogan.
Yep.
Right. So next one, another one from the Ruthless Aggression era. We mentioned Batista's thumb down, so this one happened a few months earlier. Randy Orton spitting in Triple H's face. So Orton during Evolution was the legend killer. Such a great gimmick, killing legends from the likes of Jake Roberts, squaring off against Mick Foley, had that legendary match at Backlash for the IC title in that hardcore match. And he was just getting these big cheers from the crowd like all the time. And it came to a point, it was like, yeah, we're kind of going to have to turn him face, sorry. So at SummerSlam, he squared off against Chris Benoit at Toronto, and you would think it would be a very pro-Benoit crowd, which, don't get me wrong, he had a lot of fans in that crowd, but there was a lot of fans cheering for Orton as well, and Orton defeated Benoit after Triple H failed to do so many times, and then the next night on Raw, had the rematch against Benoit where he defeated Benoit again, this time with the help of Evolution. And yeah, Batista picked Orton up on his shoulders, and similar to the Batista thing, Triple H put the thumbs up, but then Triple H put the thumbs down. Batista smashed Orton onto the floor. Then the next week, Triple H demanded the title back, gave his reasons, saying that I'm the star of Evolution and you'll always be beneath me. Orton came out, gave the title to Triple H, but wouldn't let go of it. Then he spit in his face, smashed him over the face with the title, ran into the crowd celebrating, and then just led to a feud between him and Triple H for the rest of the year. So, thoughts on this, Jeremy?
I tell you, I think them turning Randy Orton babyface was so ridiculous, such a step backwards. I can't bury this enough. I don't know what it's going to be up against, but I can already tell you that it's probably better than this, because Orton should have stayed a heel. And at the very least, when they turned him face finally, they shouldn't have made him a happy, high-fiving, smiley babyface, because it was just not him. I don't think it's ever been him. And I even with what he knows today and what he's learned, I don't think he could ever pull off that character believably. So a big thumbs down from me.
Kyle?
The only thing that came out of that face turn was the theme music. That's all.
Oh, wait, I did enjoy the heel turn where he RKO'd Stacy, though. I thought that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love that theme. So I'll be honest, I actually did enjoy the face turn, but I think for me at the time it was like, a young baby face and that. But don't get me wrong, he's a lot better heel. It's not even a debate.
Yeah.
But I think it was just because I what would have been like 15. So yeah. But yeah, I think originally the plans was meant to be that leading on to Mania, he was going to face off against Triple H at Mania, and they was going to kick Triple H out the group, and he was going to take over Evolution. I think that was the original plans, but plans changed. But that would have been actually pretty decent if that happens. Cool. So that's up against Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 6, turning babyface in his last pay-per-view match for WWE. So he was he turned heel against Hogan, which we mentioned in the last episode, Kyle. Got paired up with Bobby Heenan, the Heenan family. And during this time, he was teamed up with Haku as the Colossal Connection and became tag team champions. And on this night at WrestleMania 6, they lost the tag titles against Demolition. And then Bobby Heenan started berating Andre and saying, "I'm the fucking boss," which you can still hear clearly on the WWE Network, unless that's been censored by Peacock now. So Andre just turned on him, slapped him about, and then, went on them mini rings going up the ramp, started waving towards the fans, and, came in the villain and retired as a hero. So probably the most old school one, but yeah, Kyle, memories of this one?
Yeah, Heenan slapped Andre too, and then even Monsoon was like, "Oh, you don't do that," and then he tried to run, and Andre just fucking clobbered Haku, and that was great. That was a hell of a lot better than Orton, tell you that.
Cool. Jeremy?
Yeah, pretty much. And I think that it was to a point where people wanted to cheer for Andre. He was such an attraction. And I feel monster heels in general have a very limited shelf life in the wrestling business. We've saw it with the great Khali, who came in destroying the Undertaker with one move, and then he's dancing and kissing Natalya and teaming with Hornswoggle. Many a times in WWE they'll say, you come in a monster, by the end of your run you'll be dancing and smiling, and it never fails to happen. So I think there's just something that the fans like about big monsters, and they want to cheer them. So I think it was the right time, and especially with him on his way out, why not give him that last hurrah?
Cool. So I presume you're going Andre.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
For what it was, I was going Orton.
Really?
So, I'm a big Randy Orton fan. So, cool. So, so that's the end of round one. Hey, everyone, do not adjust your sets because since that 2 minutes ago, I've had a haircut and Kyle and Jeremy's had two different wardrobes. And also in the meantime, Jeremy himself, Black Dynamite, is now the 4th annual Jericho Award winner. How do you feel, Jeremy?
Oh, fantastic. I mean, who better to represent the legacy of Chris Jericho, Le Champion, the Demo God, the Lionheart, the Painmaker, Moon Goose McQueen. I could go on and on. There is no bigger Jericho fan than myself. And I look forward to taking this award to new heights, using the new skills that I will learn from fellow thrill seeker Lance Storm to be able to lead this revolution of Canadian wrestling that started as just a small little thing that I said, even if no one joins in with me, I'm still going to get the job done. And now the harbinger of truth, leading the vanguard of Verity right to the front lines of battle. And we are going to make sure that Canada gets its rightful spot on the world stage in the world of professional wrestling.
Awesome. And like I said, congratulations. We're really happy for you. So it means a lot. So we're so happy that you've won it.
Thank you, James. Much appreciated.
Cool. Kyle, have you won any awards in the meantime?
I have not. I got a free
Comedy Central.
I was the Comedy Central Spotlight of the Day 2 Sundays ago.
Yeah.
Comedy Central Live. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. And I can't say I've done anything in the meantime, but I'll try and do something to some sort of achievement.
Hey, well, you're rising up the charts every single day. I mean, you're going to be number one in all categories pretty soon.
You just got Vince Russo on your show. You spoke to Wrath. These are not small accomplishments, my friend.
Oh yeah, Vince Russo, pretty entertaining. A lot of bros.
Italians. What are you going to do?
Cool. So where we left off, lads, so we are doing the greatest face turns. So we're down to the final 8. So let's get into it. So first round of the final 8, we've got Stoneco Steve Austin. He's face turn at WrestleMania 13 up against Alex Express. So we went over him in the first round, but yeah, Austin with that double turn with Brett. Obviously, it led on to a lot of great things afterwards, and that's up against Lex Luger, which it was a fun face turn, but not much. It didn't really go his way afterwards, but I'll let you decide. So, Jeremy, what are you thinking?
Well, I think you're being a little bit unbiased there in your introduction of it, but you are leaning towards what I was feeling which is that much like if this match were to happen in the ring, I do think it would be a squash in favor of Stone Cold. I do think that you got so much longevity out of that run, took the business to new heights. Lex Luger, again, it was kind of a flash in the pan. It was realistically, I think, maybe a year, but it ultimately did not lead to where it was intended to go, which was the championship. And so I got to give my vote to Austin at WrestleMania, the double turn with Brett.
Cool. Kyle?
Yeah, I got to go Stone Cold on this one. I mean, that face turn went somewhere. Where Lex Luger, he had a title match at SummerSlam. He knocked him outside of the ring, got counted out Yokozuna, and acted like he won the title, the confetti, the fair, the fanfare. He didn't win anything. You won by count out. What are you celebrating for? And then he went on to WrestleMania. You lost there because you put your hands on Mr. Perfect. You can't touch the ref. Can't do that. Learn the fucking rules of wrestling, Lex Luger. But yeah, no, I got to go with Stone Cold on this one.
Awesome. Cool. So next matchup, it's The Undertaker's face turn, which we mentioned previously. Saved Miss Elizabeth and went on to face Jake Roberts at WrestleMania 8, which I actually watched that match the other night. And a lot of people crapped on it, but I found it quite entertaining myself. So yeah, and obviously we mentioned this face turn he ended up becoming the face for the next 6 to 7 years. So it was a pretty lengthy face turn before he started doing the work with Kane and joining the ministry. And that's up against the Macho Man's face turn at the end of WrestleMania 7, where him and Elizabeth reunited. So this is a pretty tough one. So we'll go to you, Kyle. I'd like to put the pressure on you.
Yeah. Oh, no. This is a tough one because, like you said, Undertaker, he had that great run. He won the title in that run after he turned face. But the Macho Man and Elizabeth, it's just it's iconic, but so is the Undertaker.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to say Undertaker, but not by much. Again, by a cunt hair.
I love that saying.
Interesting assessment. Yeah. So the way I see it is like this. If I'm looking at it from purely a longevity standpoint, that Undertaker face turn, he got so much mileage out of it. I was just talking the other day about how I saw so many house shows here live headlined by the Undertaker. And, if ever you hear Triple H talks, he always says about how, everyone has their Mount Rushmore of wrestling, but everywhere he goes in the world, everyone knows the Undertaker. And I think the main reason is because he was such a strong top babyface, despite the fact that he was never WWF champion for a lengthy amount of time. I think in the case of the Macho Man, if you look at purely the moment the face turn happens, it's a huge reaction. It's serendipity throughout the entire arena. I'm sure people at home at the time, I didn't have the privilege of seeing it live when it happened, but people at home, I'm sure they were thrilled about it. But I've got to disagree with you, I think, for the first time here, because I'm going to go with the Macho Man, because I think when most people remember the Macho Man, they remember him as a babyface. And like I said before, I feel Macho Man was one of the greatest heels of all time, but the window for where he was a heel was not as long and as prominent as when he was a babyface. And that run actually lasted pretty long too. If we take that face turn into account, right into WCW, into maybe the NWO. So that's a healthy run as well. And I think the moment itself that the turn happened was superior to when Undertaker made that turn. So I think we parted like the Red Sea here for the first time.
Oh,
James, tiebreaker.
Tiebreaker is Taker's face turn, good face turn, and it led to a lengthy face turn. But Macho Man and that moment in particular, him reunited with Liz after 2 years away from each other, and fans literally crying in the arena. Now I don't know if there was planted fans, but apparently there was some legit fans who was crying in the stands. So got to agree with Jeremy, Kyle. I'm going Macho Man because it's such a great moment, and it led to the wedding afterwards. It led to his return against Jake, and then at the following WrestleMania, he defeated Ric Flair to become the champion. So all sprouted from this face turn. So yeah, I've got to go Macho.
I enjoy that because I feel like I'm a defense attorney here when it comes to these kinds of things. And I enjoyed that. It was actually the first career I wanted to do. I wanted to be a lawyer. But, much like Veda Scott, I put that to the wayside for wrestling.
Yeah, cool.
And it's been working out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many lawyers have won the Jericho Award?
Exactly. How many of them even have an education of the other winners?
Exactly. So next one we got. So it's the Batista thumbs down face turn against Triple H, where he powerbombed him through the table, and then he went on to conquer him at WrestleMania, become the World Heavyweight Champion. And that's up against DDP's face turn when he turned on the NWO with a diamond cutter. So another tough one this is. So Jeremy, we'll start with you.
I feel I might get some heat with DDP, who I think the world of. As I mentioned here, one of the first interviews that I did. Great man, great yoga product, great wrestler, great face turn, great moment, definitely. But that Batista face turn, I would practically put that up against anything. When it comes down to it, he was a made man from that one moment. He could have stank it up and phoned it in for the rest of his career. He could have taken time off and come back with a big belly and doing no moves. And I think people would have still been like, wow, it's Batista. He ended Triple H's reign of terror. So I got to go Batista on that one.
Cool. Kyle?
Oh man, you really like putting the pressure, eh? God, it's tough because like you said, Batista was made as soon as he put Triple H through the table, but so is DDP once he dropped Scott Hall and Nash. He dropped the Outsiders. So this is a fucking rough one because DDP in the 90s was amazing. He'd go out through the crowd. He was the first people's champ. He had the diamond cutter. He was putting it on every which way he possibly could, but Batista was just a monster. Yeah. Oh man.
I mean, I'll banter with you on this one too, because I think about it, and again, I also look at where it went. And DDP did manage to get the championship, but I do, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he got it as a babyface. If it did happen, it might have been later, but I know he won it as a heel.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he ever got it as a face. I know he was labeled the People's Champion. He ran with that. Sometimes popularity and all that is better than a championship. But I do think in the case of Batista, they followed through on it. He got the belt multiple times. Legend, Hall of Famer, much like DDP.
No.
But if you look at what was gained through the actual turn, I don't feel it took DDP to the actual gold when it came down to it. That's just my take.
Yeah, no, he was kind of a tweener when he won it.
I didn't like that he won it as a heel. Like, I didn't like him coming out and then cutting these heel promos, talking bad about the people. It's like, you're the people's champion. They got you there.
Yeah.
And now it just didn't seem organic that they did that in WCW. I think that he should have just been a baby. He should have been like Ricky Steamboat. He should have been a babyface his entire run. He never lost me as a fan. I love the Jersey Triad. I think they were super underrated as a group, as a three-man group. Him, Bam Bam Bigelow, and Canyon, who was another amazing talent. Again, I feel I'm talking too much here, but all that to say, it pissed me off that WCW did that to DDP.
Yeah. For Kyle,
I'm gonna have to go Batista on this one. I'm thinking back. He had that great run of matches with Triple H where he beat him like 3 straight pay-per-views. That Hell in a Cell match was brutal. It was great. Yeah, no, Batista. But again, not by much. Not by much. That nostalgia is a motherfucker, I tell you.
James, if I know I just did it too, but if he cuts you off like that again, I can give him a bitch slap for you.
Apologize.
For what it's worth, I was picking Batista as well, even though I love DDP's run. I really do. And I wish we could get like a people's champion like that these days, to be honest, because there isn't many. I suppose you could say the closest thing is Daniel Bryan, but I don't think he's at the same level of star, even though he's had a Hall of Fame career.
Another footnote on that is when The Rock was calling himself the people's champion, I feel like it was insincere. Like, it was a way to kind of take a dig at the audience. Whereas DDP, and I may be wrong with my timeline, but I feel DDP used the people's champion moniker before The Rock did.
He did.
And when he used it, it actually was this blue collar working class guy who represents the people, dressed like the people, fought through adversity. So that's why when people say, "Oh, The Rock was the people's champion," it's like, well, that's kind of a name he gave himself just to get heat. It's like Jeff Jarrett calling himself the Chosen One, which I think was a fantastic name. I mean, I'd love to be the Chosen One, if that name wasn't already taken. But I'm happy being the Anointed One. Nonetheless, I think that's one of the things that why I couldn't say DDP on this one, because I feel that they brought him to the main event status, but not as what he should have been, which was the most organic people's champion of all time.
Yeah. It would have been fine if I would have picked DDP had he beaten Goldberg at Halloween Havoc.
Yeah. And he brought out Kimberly Page every week, so what wasn't to love?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. So down to the last one of this round. So it's Hulk Hogan turning babyface at WrestleMania 18 during his match with The Rock, where the Toronto fans just what a match! I just love that match. Up against Andre at WrestleMania 6, coincidentally at Toronto as well. So he retired as a babyface. Basically, this was his last match on pay-per-view for WWE. For wrestling in general. So, two tough days. I've got an idea who'll win, but we'll go to you first, Kyle.
Hogan and Andre, You know what? I'm going to go with Hogan on this one, just because I was at the Raw the next day when he threw the NWO shirt into the crowd. It was a huge moment. Like, we talked about it in part one till the fucking cows come home, about how much of a standing ovation we gave this guy. So I gotta go Hogan on this one.
Yeah, it's not a hard decision for me. Again, like I said, I'm using the criteria of the longevity that you get out of the turn. I think Andre's turn was just a nice going away gift. It was a thank you for your years of service to the company and for literally breaking your back for this company. So to me, I think Hogan, especially for the fact that it was organic. It forced them to flip the script on what they had planned, and it changed the course of history. It's one of the most powerful face turns of all time, really, because the people literally made it happen by sheer force of will, and WWE was smart enough to roll with it.
And he got a title run out of it.
Yeah. But that did change plans a lot. We was expecting another lengthy Triple H run, but that definitely changed it. Cool. So Hogan it is. So before we get to the semi, so I just remembered there is something I achieved during this part 1 and part 2. I've got a new sponsor. So Jeremy, you're a pretty good looking guy. I can imagine you take care of yourself. You groom yourself, I would imagine so.
Indeed I do. When my team of Malaysian slaves aren't there to do it for me, I make sure I can get it done on my own.
Well, if they're not there for you, do you know what you can get? Manscaped. So Manscaped, so I'll tell you all about it now. I actually tried it for the first time the other night. Okay, no bullshitting, right? And I've tried like grooming yourself with your standard razors or even just your big chunky shavers you get and stuff like that. And it's horrible. I actually tried this for the first time the other night and it was good. It's so streamlined. Like this is shaver. It's little compact. It's got an LED light on it to light up areas what you can barely see. And it's also got a ceramic blade. So you can go close as you want and it will not cut you. And I promise that. Another bonus thing as well, it's waterproof. So you can actually do this in the shower and it's quite handy. And it comes with a USB charge stand. It's pretty damn good. And not only do you get that, you get the weed whacker for your nose hairs and your ear hairs, which is also very handy. And it also comes with ball deodorant. So when you're thinking ball deodorant, you're thinking of a spray. It's not. Okay. It's a little bit of cream. You rub it and it smells lovely. Because there's nothing worse than when your partner wants to go down there and it smells horrible. Now they won't say no.
And so, serious question here, despite the fact we're all having fun, but when it comes down to it, normally it would take you how long and how much time would you say this saves for you?
A lot. I mean, like I said, I was there the other night and I was literally done within 10 minutes, I would say. Easily. Oh. Normally, and like I said, even sometimes you go to have a shave, it takes you ages, and sometimes you're left with a bit of an itch afterwards. With this, there's no itch. It was so easy and so simple. And it comes with sprays, oils, comes with a fancy bag, and it's really good. You also get a spare pair of underwear, so it's even better. Oh. And if you use my code 90s, that's 90S, not only do you get free shipping, you also get 20% off. So for everyone out there, take care of your balls, and your balls will look after you. So like I said, use my code 90s, and get yourself over to manscaped.com.
So whether they want to ship over to the UK, whether they want to ship to us in Canada or anywhere else in the world, they use your code 90s, 90S, I assume?
That's right.
And they can get it without any shipping fees.
With that and 20% off. So
that's
pretty solid.
That's pretty amazing.
I advise it. I really do. Like I said, tried it the first time the other night, and I was amazed how easy it was and how quick it was. So the waterproof feature is the best. You can just go in the shower and just shave your chest and
amazing. Whatever. So whether you want to have your beard on fleek like me or whether you want to have your head shiny like Kyle, same reason why I wear these glasses, because of that glare that comes off of there. They could use Manscaped, use the code 90s, get free shipping, and cut down on their time that it would take to do all these things. I think that sounds like a winning deal.
That's great. Hey, Jofo Mofos, you want your balls to look like my head? Use code 90s at Manscaped on checkout. Do it. Help yourself out. Help James out. He's a friend of the show.
Awesome. Cool. So with that out of the way, so we'll get down to the semi-finals. So speaking of boldness, so we got Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13, and that's up against the Macho Man at WrestleMania 7 with the reuniting. So these are the final four, so you know it's going to be tough. So like we said with Steve Austin, so I suppose a bit more of a background check on it. So Austin coming into this Mania, so he wasn't a fully fledged face, but he was well on his way to it. Like, the fans was just so behind this rebel, this anti-authority character. And like, even though we all love Brett could be accused of being a little bit of a complainer at times, especially during this, but this was his character, I suppose. So the fans was ready to turn, but they just needed that bit of a spark just to completely pull it over the edge. And that sharpshooter, I mean, it's engraved in our memories, like Austin pouring with blood. Bret Hart said it best in his book. He said to Austin, because Austin didn't want to do color, and he says, I've never done it before. So Bret said to him, he said, I'll be the first person to tell you not to let anyone else give you a cut. He said, but trust me in doing this. So Bret actually done the job for Austin. He actually cut Austin. And he said, when I get you in the sharpshooter, are you familiar with the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Jack Nicholson?
Yep.
There's a scene where he's in the bathroom and he's trying to rip the kitchen sink off to try and smash the window out to try and get to the World Series. That's what Bret said to Austin. He said, I want you to envision that moment and you trying to grab get yourself out of the sharpshooter. And that's what we saw on TV. And that picture of Austin pouring with blood, we'll never forget about it. And after that night, he was made. So I think I put that moment quite over when you think about it. That's up against, like we said, the Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth. So the background check on this. So they came in as a couple into the WWF and for years had great success. Then on the lead up to WrestleMania 5, Hogan, with lust in his eyes, brother, decided to smack Hogan over the head. Liz was torn. She ended up parting ways. For the next 2 years, Macho Man had Sensational Sherry as his manager. And yeah, doing some great feuds, some fun feuds. And it all came to a head in the retirement match against Warrior. Warrior won the match. Sherry realized the money was gone. So Sherry turned on Savage. And then Liz came from the fans. And yeah, to make the save. And then they reunited. So tough one, lads. But we'll start with you, Jeremy. What you thinking?
Yeah, this is probably the toughest one for me. And my usual format that I go with here doesn't really come into play that much because they both had such lengthy face runs out of it. I think for me, what it comes down to is the sheer level of difficulty it takes to pull off a double turn is, to someone outside the business, especially someone who's never booked or written a wrestling show. The sheer magnitude of being able to make everybody get that and react the way you want is pretty tough to do, which is why they don't do it very often in mainstream companies. Me watching it even as a kid, I was going to support Bret no matter what. I didn't like Steve Austin. I wanted to see him, get hurt in that match. Even when it was over, to me, it was like, okay, Bret put a good beating on him. Yeah, maybe you should have left it on a little bit longer. Did more damage. That was me. But I think I was in the minority on that one. But I do think just for the sheer magnitude of pulling off a double turn, I'd have to go with Austin's face turn at Mania.
Cool. Kyle?
Yeah, no, I gotta go with Austin on this one. As much as I love Randy Savage, and like Jeremy said before, he had that hell of a run. He was babyface all the way until he joined the NWO. But
yeah,
that double turn at Mania was great, and the run that Austin went on was like the biggest run since Hogan.
Yeah.
So
basically, yeah. Go.
And that Austin 316 Blood from a Stone shirt was the best shirt he had, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I do miss them days. I really do. Good. So, who's meeting Austin in the final? So, we've got Batista turning on Triple H up against Hulk Hogan, WrestleMania 18. So, the background check for Batista. So, yeah, for months, we saw Triple H and Evolution turn on Orton, kicking him out the group. So then it was down to the final three of Batista, Flair, and Triple H. And main goal was getting the title back on Triple H, which they successfully did, and led for a few months. So then eventually it led to New Year's Revolution in the Elimination Chamber match. Triple H was stripped of the title. Well, he lost the title before this match in a triple threat match with Edge and Benoit, but they couldn't declare, so they declared the title vacant because Benoit and Edge both got the victory on them at the same time. So led to was the vacant world title match at the Elimination Chamber, and Batista came in and he was clearing out, and then Triple H, Orton, I think, gave him the low blow in the RKO to pin him, but during this time you could see Triple H in the background and he could have made a save for Batista, but he chose not to. So Triple H eventually regained his title that night. Then going to the Royal Rumble, Triple H was doing all he could to persuade Batista not to go into the Royal Rumble. He chose to do so, won the Royal Rumble, last eliminated Cena after Vince McMahon blew both of his quads, which we'll never forget. And then, came to the big decision, go to SmackDown, challenge JBL or Triple H. And, turned on Triple H. And, became world champion at 21. So, big face turn. And like we said, that's up against Hogan. Hogan and the NWO recently just made their return at the No Way Out pay-per-view as heels. And it was portrayed that way for a while. Turned out it was going to be him against The Rock at Mania. Should have been the main event. And all the plans went out the window because once Hogan entered the ring, the fans was just so in love with him. And they changed it on the script. Hogan walked out of Babyface. Next night, the red and yellow was back. Then a month later, defeated Triple H to become the WWE champion at Backlash. So, two toughies, but Kyle.
I'm so glad you're going first.
I just love how both face turns resulted in Triple H losing a title.
Oh, it's awesome. I like Triple H, to be fair, but yeah.
So did I, but I was happy that Hogan was back.
James has contradicted himself within the same episode because he forgets that when we did the first half, he talked about how he didn't like Triple H because you're such a big fan of RVD and Chris Jericho.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. No, again, another tough one, but like the run Batista went on was great. The run that Hogan went on, the turn was good. The turn was better than the actual run, I would say, because he won the title. I think everybody just dropped that belt in like a month. That only held it for like a month, except for Brock at that point. Brock and Jericho were the only two who won the undisputed title and managed to keep it for more than a month, I think. So, oh man, I don't know. This is fucking rough. Because, in terms of storytelling, though, storytelling alone, I'm just gonna say Batista, just because the story was perfect. Like Jeremy said, it was you couldn't have written a better story for that.
It was the blueprint for how to create a top babyface. And I'm glad you went with Batista. You know, I already showed my hand in this, saying that I feel it's going all the way. I said it was a spoiler, if you will. But I'm gonna give a little bit more insight on this. Now I'm very biased, extremely biased when it comes to this because I love Dave Batista. I met Batista after his injury in Evolution. You know, he was at a theme park we had here in Montreal called La Ronde. He was there to do an autograph signing, and I think there was like 50 people that showed up. I was one of those 50 people. Didn't go on a single ride that day. I don't like waiting in lines, but I went to meet Batista. So yeah, I paid, I don't know, it was like $50 to get in. I met Batista, and because there were so few people, I got the chance to kind of just, hang out with him and talk to him. And this was just after Evolution, which, Evolution hadn't started for a very long time. So he was maybe on TV for a month, maybe less, than that injury happened. And we got to talking, and I just, I remember telling him, like, man, you could be as big as The Rock. You could be, one of the biggest stars in the business. I see it in you. And, he talked to me just like a normal guy. And I guess I was just the biggest fan that was there. And then, I happened to be working at a nutrition store, and they brought in Batista. This is, after he had been world champion, to come in, do an autograph signing. Got to spend time with him again. Met him when I was there for my tryouts in 2010. He was always a class act, always a gentleman to me. And I'm very happy for the success he got. But now getting back to this and why I defend the Batista face turn as being the best face turn is that, for one, if you take the Hogan one, now just up against Hogan, I really feel like if Rock Hogan took place in Syracuse, New York, or Albuquerque, New Mexico, or it took place in the San Purdue, it would have not been the same type of reaction as he got in Toronto. No. It was really something about the place that led to that kind of a reaction. I do realize that Rock was, getting his fair share of boos, and everyone loves nostalgia. But if that had taken place in another market, more than likely people would have just gone with whatever they wanted them to react to. So I think that plays a factor in it. The other reason I'll defend the Batista turn is this. Looking back at champions, you can go as far back as, we're a 90s show here, throughout the 90s. When have you seen a Haas champion get over like that? Now, Brock Lesnar was force pushed. It was, we're going to have you we're going to Goldberg you. We're going to have you beat everybody and give you the belt. Batista, it was a natural ascension. The reactions got better and better week after week with a great story that they told, and they were able to finally put a championship on a Haas, on a big monster of a guy. And to his credit, he got the work done in the ring to show that he had the tools to justify it. And I always compare him to Cena because Cena, as much as I love Cena, the crowd turned on Cena. The crowd never turned on Batista, despite the fact that he was a bigger, maybe more limited wrestler in terms of his in-ring style, but he never lost the crowd. He never lost the respect of the people. And that's why I feel this was such a good job of making him a made man. He was Teflon from then on out. And that's why I'm saying Batista's face turn, Batista to the finals. Sorry, folks. I know we all want Hogan and Austin. Didn't happen then. Don't think it's going to happen today.
And another thing, too, is that, like you said, he became a made man. When they did that Survivor Series, when it was Raw versus SmackDown, the first person they needed to take out in order to take on SmackDown was Batista. Yeah. And he still came back and cleared Big Show, Kane, as a tag team, mind you, which was probably one of the most dominant tag teams of all time. He took out everybody on Team Raw with fucking his ribs taped. He was a monster. And it's not a spoiler if it comes from a prophet. Remember that.
I like that.
Cool.
Sorry,
so
James,
Batista go ahead. Cool. Batista is. I agree. I love the Hogan 10, but Batista. So, grand final, lads. So, Stoneco double 10, WrestleMania 13. Up against Batista, so I mean, we've gone through the backstory.
We feel we're going to butt heads on this one.
Oh, we'll see.
I'm glad that I always go last when it comes to decisions. So, Prophet, Jeremy, we'll go with you first.
Well, riding off the heels of the hot tag that I just took there and the big comeback that I just made, got to go again with Batista for all the reasons that I've mentioned. And let's face it, I mean, Dave Batista, whenever he was there, he always had the audience in the palm of his hand, whether he was a face, whether he was a heel. The man was just a master at manipulating the audience to react the way that he wanted. He walked the fans through that turn week after week, getting more support, knowing the right nuances, the right things to do, and getting the support of good booking. Like I said, I compared him to Brock Lesnar last time. Brock Lesnar was a big, freakishly athletic hoss, couldn't really string together two words to save his life, but, they covered up his weaknesses and they put the belt on him. But I don't feel Brock Lesnar as champion was ever as over as a babyface as Dave Batista. I don't feel Brock Lesnar was ever drawing the kind of heat that Batista was able to get. Even Brock coming back now in this run after all the rub they gave him for his second time around and Suplex City and all those things, I don't feel that the heat that he drew was the same as the heat Dave Batista drew in his comeback when he was going up against Daniel Bryan and kind of trying to play, spoiler, to the Yes Movement and WrestleMania and whatnot. I just think that this all stems from how well he was booked and how well that face turn was done and how talented he was at understanding how to work a crowd, which is something that is almost a lost art. So I got to say his face turn, it made him who he is today. There'd be no Drax the Destroyer and Guardians of the Galaxy if that face turn wasn't pulled off.
Kyle.
Oh, man. Yeah. I'm going to stick with Stone Cold on this one just because of that epic run he had. I mean, he brought wrestling to brand new heights which we've never seen. He was all over fucking Conan. He was on MTV, Celebrity Deathmatch. He was everywhere. There were Austin 316 shirts all over the place. I could throw a rock in high school and it was going to hit somebody in an Austin 316 shirt. So
before you answer and give the people the finale here, I think we should actually go back and forth and fight for our points, because I wouldn't mind cross-examining him on a few things here. Would you say, and the answer may be yes, but would you say that Stone Cold Steve Austin today in 2021 is a bigger mainstream star than Dave Batista is?
From a wrestling standpoint or an entertainment standpoint?
From a world standpoint.
I'm going to say that you know what? I'm going to say they might be tied with Batista just a little bit ahead, only because of Marvel.
And like I said, there'd be no Drax the Destroyer if it wasn't for that face turn catapulting him to the top of the company. I think the momentum of that face turn was so strong, it made him a star. It did. I mean, I'm trying to think of another example, but I feel like John Cena didn't even have that kind of a moment. John Cena realistically didn't even have a face turn per se. There was kind of a falling out with Team Lesnar, and then that was it. Batista really had a story that was constructed to get him there, which was the blueprint, I feel, for how to create a babyface. That's why I say with Austin, Austin did a lot of good for the business. But if we're talking about making someone a superstar, making someone a household name, a big star outside of the wrestling business, akin to like The Rock, to the point where people may even say, you know, Dave Batista is a better actor than The Rock. He might not have what The Rock has in his bank account, but, you know, he also hasn't had the longevity in the spotlight that The Rock has had too. So that's where I feel Batista surpasses Austin in terms of this face turn. Literally made this man, you know, a mainstream star in the long run. Austin's a mainstream star too for his time, but you know, where's Austin now?
But had it not been for the Austin turn, would WCW have been able to pull off a Batista face turn? Because if it hadn't been for Austin, I don't think the WWE would have been able to continue on without overtaking WCW.
It's a very interesting point, but I mean, yeah, Batista was around at a time where there wasn't competition. But I think that means that there were still more people watching wrestling at the time that Austin did it, whereas Batista didn't have as big of an audience, but managed to keep them entertained, keep gates high, keep profits coming in, no pun intended, and carry the company. Like I said, he never lost the crowd. Yeah. Cena fluctuated. Cena can elicit a crazy reaction when he's in there, but half that reaction is boos.
Yeah.
So Batista, to me, that turn, it made him a made man on so many platforms. And, you know, I respect you going with Austin. I'm going with Batista. I think you brought a pretty good fight there. But, you know, now it's in the host's hands to decide who's going to win this one.
No pressure.
No pressure. Just for the record, I do believe Austin's still a bigger star. I do genuinely believe that. But that's just me. Not as a film star, but I think if you ask everyone who's Stone Cold Steve Austin, I think the majority of people would know who he is, but I don't think many people know Batista, unless, you know, you're a diehard comic book movie fan or diehard wrestling fan. But Austin, to me, is like Hogan. Name me a wrestler. Oh, Hogan. Oh, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Oh, Undertaker. He's one of them names. But that's that. As for the turns themselves, I did love. Obviously, I've loved Batista's head because it was long-term storytelling. Like, he saw what happened to Randy Orton. Randy Orton had his moment in the sun, got kicked out because of it. And even, like, I forgot to mention, like, but Randy Orton during his times, like, trying to tell Batista, Triple H just using you to keep the title and things like that. So that had to play out. And like you mentioned before, Jeremy, there wasn't many Hoss babyface champions in particular, and because the fans normally shit on it, because you know the fans, especially online fans, they just want, you know, your technical worker basically. But I love a big Hoss champion, and Batista's a babyface. I mean, the reactions he would get, plus he had a badass fucking theme song. But then we got Austin, and obviously Austin turned babyface. I mean, he was still a heel, like, for the rest of the world. Like, in Canada and in the UK, he was still a heel. But in America, he was the biggest star at that point. But then again, it did take him a while still before, you know, he became the champion still. It wasn't until he started feuding with Vince McMahon more where it cemented him. So, taking into account the immediate effect of the face turn, I'm going to lean into Batista and give it to Batista. I'm sorry, Carl. It was tough. Like you say, it's a cunt turn. But, Yeah, I'm gonna get a lot of flack online because of this.
I'll defend.
You only done it. But fuck it, I've got the fourth annual Jericho winner. He can back me up. Fuck yes.
Right.
But now it was tough. Like the Austin face turn, it was a great face turn, but he was still a hero across the rest of the world, you could say. And during his time, he was still feuding with Brett for the majority of the time, but he never really. He was a big star, but he still wasn't the top star, if you know what I mean. Whereas in Batista, as soon as he turned babyface, he won the title within a couple of months, and he was the top star of whatever brand he was on, basically. So, I suppose you could say, had Austin won the title a bit sooner, I probably would have gave it to Austin. But because it was still another year before he was cemented as the top babyface, so tough. But yeah, we'll give it to Batista. So Batista turning babyface on Triple H. You have got the greatest face turn.
I want to say this too, just about Batista, and it's another thing I should have probably pointed out before. But if you think of his whole run, Batista never came down from main event status.
No,
he never went into the mid card. He never. Let's face it, with Austin, he had injuries that kind of derailed him a little bit in his run. But Batista was always a main event guy, no matter what. Always in the main event. Even when he left the first time, he left in the main event. He came back, won the Rumble, right into the main event. The last program with Evolution, main event. He was a main event guy for that entire run that he had.
And I respect the fact that when he came back the first time and did the Rumble and Daniel Bryan thing, was that he was doing house shows. Mm-hmm. He was going to all the house shows.
Yeah. I don't think Batista got appreciated as much as he should have, to be honest. And now, after his final match with Triple H, I think people starting to warm up to it. But I remember people get like towards the end, especially when he turned heel when he won the title off Cena. A few fans was getting sick of him, but like I love Batista, and that Hollywood Batista run he had, where he came with the spotlight and that was awesome, and that was some of the best mic work he ever done. And so he could pull it off as a babyface or as a heel, and like as a heel, he's just this big monster. He was intimidating, but as a babyface, he was awesome to us. I've got a lot of love for Batista. So Batista is great space turn. So that's awesome, lads. So before we do sign off, tell everyone about Jofo in the Ring. You've been having some top interviews lately.
Yeah, we've had some great interviews. We got some more coming for you, so stay tuned for that. And if you want to stay tuned, you can find us on YouTube, you can find us on Twitter, you can find us on Instagram, you can find us on Facebook, all at Jofo in the Ring. You can find us on TikTok at Jofo in the Ring. And if you want what we just talked about, we posted a video on the Jofo in the Ring TikTok of Austin coming out in Calgary for the Calgary Stampede, and the entire crowd. If you want to talk polarizing, them just shitting on Austin, and he is just fucking loving every minute of it. And I'm talking about it as we're watching it on the video. He's just talking so much shit to everyone. It's amazing. Check it out.
And if I'm not mistaken, was that when they did? Was it a Survivor Series or not a Survivor? No, it was supposed to be a multi-man match, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
And wasn't Shawn Michaels originally supposed to be in that match
too? He was supposed to be.
Oh, the heat they would have had he shown up.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, amazing.
But also, you can follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Prophet. That's Jeremy Prophet, the 2020 winner of the Chris Jericho Award. You can follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Prophet. Get in now because let's face it, I'm becoming pretty popular right now. This has become a movement. There is still room on Noah's Ark for everybody, so I do not discriminate. Find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram, if you don't have Twitter, at The Real Jeremy Prophet. And you can see me every week here on Jofo, Tuesdays, 7 p.m. on YouTube, doing my thing as only I can do.
Awesome. And for everyone who wants to find me on social media, you can find me on Instagram, that 90s Wrestling Podcast, and you can also find me on Twitter at 90s Wrestling Pod. And yeah, if you're listening to this on podcast form, rather be it Spotify, Apple iTunes, Podbean, Google Podcast, please give us a 5-star rating, like and subscribe and share and tell all your friends. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please same again, subscribe, hit that like button, tap the bell icon, and give us a comment. Who do you think should have been the top babyface 10? So let us know. And if you got any suggestions for the next What If, please post them in the comments section. So till then, everyone, thanks again. And also, before we go, head over to manscaped.com, use my code 90s, get yourself 20% off, and help support the channel. So till then, we'll see you next time. Bye.